Here. Welcome to this video. My Facebook has changed a little bit. Usually I do it. Hi everyone. Not sure if you got that. I am testing out the new way that Facebook lets us go live in the group. So I just want to check if it's working. Usually I go live from my phone, but for some reason the live button is not working on my phone. So I'm going live from my computer and it looks like I am live here, but the title of the live is not showing up. So I will change it later. Facebook always likes to change things up. I know that we just got Reels in Facebook groups and on our Facebook, so I think they're just changing the way it works, and at least I can still go live, so that's good. Okay, so today I want to talk to you about positioning and messaging and why it's really important to think about this before you create your offers, and knowing who are you targeting, how are you positioning yourself, how are you positioning your company, your business, your brand in front of others, and what to think about before you create your offer. So as I am working on a new group program, one of the things that I'm going to talk about in my group program is brand strategy. Now, brand strategy is something that I know quite a bit about, coming from the advertising industry. I was in the industry for over 10 years, and I learned a lot about strategy. But with brand strategy, the thing is there's a lot of upfront stuff that you need to do before you sell. And oftentimes, if you already know what you're selling, it's pretty easy to just sell it out the gate. But I find that a lot of clients that I work with, the reason why they might be having problems selling their programs or services, especially if you're selling something on the internet, is because you haven't gone back to the beginning of looking at your strategy. You haven't really figured out, okay, who am I reaching? Who are my target market? Who's my target market? And maybe you have a little bit of that, but why are you different? And how are you positioning yourself so the mind in the mind of the customer? So positioning is different than messaging, because positioning is really having that unique position that your target customer, your target client, your ideal clients see you as being different than other people. And then the messaging is really getting it out there, getting that message out there consistently, why you're different, understanding the ways that you set yourself apart, and kind of like repeating that positioning, repeating your values, repeating, who you help, repeating the problems you solve and the solutions that you have, and how you're different. Because there are so many different people that we can buy from nowadays, right? Just as you can buy from any coach, you can do different social media courses. But the key thing is you need to think about that in your own business. And when you're creating an offer, or you're creating your product suite, your suite of products that you're selling, whether it's just services or product based, you need to know, number one, what is the competition already selling? And how are you going to be different when you're selling that? So how is what you're selling unique from all the other products and programs or services that might be slightly similar? Now, I know a lot of you might be thinking, I can't really compete when there's so many other similar products and services out there in the market. But I want you to think differently. I want you to think that if you're able to really nail down your methodologies, your frameworks, your differentiating factors, it doesn't matter if you're selling the exact same thing. Having your own spin on things and your skills and your different ways of training and teaching is going to set you apart. And being able to explain to your potential clients and customers what those are in the beginning, like why you're different, is going to really help you sell your offers. It's going to help you separate yourself from the pack, so that when you come out with a new offer, they can say, hey, I know why she's different or he's different. I can already I already know their brand. I already know how they're placing themselves within their market, right? Within their market, whatever you are selling, right? So I think it's really important to understand the intricacies of brand strategy, positioning, and messaging, right? So when I'm going to be teaching my course, I'm going to be talking about brand strategy, and it's something that you don't have to do right away. What I mean is, it's not something that you have to do and have it perfect. You do want to do it, but it doesn't have to be perfect, right? The idea is to just get in your head why it's important, play around with it before you're making your offers and before you're putting together your offers, so that when you create offers, you are differentiating yourself from other people that are doing similar offers. Because, as a business coach and someone that talks about personal development, there's hundreds of business coaches out there, right? There's tons that you could buy from. And so I'm constantly thinking, how is the way I'm teaching, how is my content, are the trainings that I have going to give someone a new perspective on the trainings, or how are they going to have someone take action? So, for instance, you might buy a course on, let's say, Instagram marketing, let's say, and you're trying to decide who to buy from in Instagram marketing. Well, you might actually look at their Instagram and say, this person's energy, essence, their brand voice, the way they're putting themselves across is more aligned to me, more aligned to the way that I want to sell. So I'm going to buy that person's course because I just feel different. I feel like that person's the right person for me, right? A lot of when people buy from you, it's strategic, but a lot of times it's emotion. And so you have to think about specific things that are going to create that emotion in your customers, and understanding that is part of the buying process. So knowing, how do I create a specific emotion of the brand that I want to put myself across as? Like, how do I create that feeling of whatever those brand power words are, right? However you want to come across as a specific brand. So you might want to think of specific words that you use when you're thinking about creating content or thinking about creating offers for your clients, that are words that represent you, so that you infuse it into your content, you infuse it into the way you're marketing, so other people feel that from you, so that when you are putting yourself out there, they're like, I want to learn from this person because this is the feeling I get. So I'm just going to give you some ideas of some power words that I feel like for myself is important, and that it's why I'm slightly different than other people. So one of the things is I know that the way I teach marketing and sales is I'm a classic, right? I have a background in sales and marketing, and I've done this for like 15, 20 years, a long time, right? I'm older than a lot of people in the coaching industry and space. So while I may not be as social media savvy, I'm able to get clients because of my relationship building, because I understand brand strategy, because I don't need to do 15 posts or 100 Instagram stories to get clients, because I can be simple. I can tell a story and emphasize it in an intelligent way. And I'm not saying that if you're doing 15 stories, you're not being intelligent. But what I'm just trying to say is that I understand my clients and understand who the people that are coming to me and how, like, why they're buying from me, right? And how to create that feeling of, okay, this person is intelligent, this person has many years of business experience, this person has industry background in the advertising and entertainment industry, they're creative still. So I'm not just some young person that's come on the internet, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing at all, right? I think that's amazing. If you're someone that's on the internet and knows social media inside and out, kudos to you, right? But I know that for me, I bring a lot of my background from my past industries and what I do now in terms of filmmaking into the way I teach. And so what that means is you don't necessarily have to be tech savvy to learn from me. It's more of what are, the basics of selling and advanced selling methods that are tried and true, and that you can use them even if the algorithm's changing, or even, with Facebook, with the whole new live, how to go live, right? Even if 1 minute you have to do a reel and a story, right? What are the basics? Like, what are the basics of copywriting and storytelling, and being able to write content that is going to make that person take action, right? What are the types of calls to actions to make? Because the copywriting is so succinct that that person feels like you're talking to them, right? That storytelling part. And knowing how to use, NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, when you're selling to people, and understanding the idea of relationship building. And I know that there's so many different ways to sell online. And I think that for me, I decided, okay, I'm going to take advantage of social media and do that, but I don't need to be on social media all the time. It's not something that I want to be on all the time, honestly. And so I want to help people who also have that opinion that they don't mind doing social media and they're going to use it consistently, but they don't always want to be the ones that are showing up. They want to have maybe a virtual assistant doing some of their social media. They maybe want to build relationships and create that type of brand that is, it doesn't have to be with the latest fads all the time. It's like a brand that knows what it's talking about, a brand that is very strategic and authentic, but at the same time is very clear about what they're offering. So those are some ideas to think about is, what are you, like, how are you coming across? Like, what is your style? What is your brand voice? And so when you're teaching trainings, how are you going to be teaching it? Are you going to be teaching it in a way that is going to be step by step? Are you teaching it in a storytelling manner? How are you going to be positioning yourself that people understand your brand and the difference between your brand and other brands, right? So you might see my social media and say, well, she doesn't do very many reels, or she's not on social media all the time. And you might be someone that says, I actually want to learn to do social media all the time. That's how I want to sell. I want to be on social media all the time. I want to be a personal brand that is talking about my whole life, right? Like all the time, and documenting myself, which is like kind of Kardashian, right? Which is fine. Kardashians are super famous and make a lot of money by documenting themselves. I'm a little bit more private, right? And I build relationships behind the scenes, right? I'm not always forward-facing relationship building. I'm doing it behind the scenes. People know what I do. I reach out to people. People reach out to me, and it's more long-term relationships that I've cultivated. And so that's the way I tend to do business. And it's not that I don't do any forward-facing things, but I teach people a little bit of that, behind-the-scenes stuff. So it really is, how do you want to learn? If you want to learn the latest TikTok trends, then you're probably not going to work with me, right? So think about that. Like, think about, how are you different? Like, are you going to be the person that is always trend setting? I know that Gary Vaynerchuk, I follow him on Twitter, and he's awesome. He's always trend setting. He has an agency in New York, and literally, like, he knows the latest trends. Like, he's doing NFTs all the time, talking about NFTs. He just always knows what's happening, and I'm following the latest trends. I'm on those, feeds and Twitter and stuff like that, but I'm not always teaching them, right? And maybe I will when a client comes to me, but it's not something that I don't lead with it, right? So if you're going to work with Gary Vaynerchuk and his brand, he leads with trend setting. That is his whole brand. Like, I've always heard him talking about that. He's like, I'm always the first to know about what's going to be hot, right? Like, that is his agency. His agency is founded on being hot, knowing the latest trends, following it through, learning about it, and then teaching on it. That is what he's known for, right? Whereas I'm a little bit known for more old school. I understand things that are going on, but I like to do relationships. I like to have a little bit more balance. I'm sure he's balanced too. I don't really know him as a person. I'm sure he has a lot of different things, but I'm just saying in terms of the way I my brand is forward thinking. If you might see that my private life is a little bit separate from my business, you might see that I you know, I do things behind the scenes, and there's a little bit of mystery behind my brand in a sense. So yeah, you want to think about that. You want to think like, how are you being perceived, right? What are people thinking about you? Are they looking at your brand? Like, I remember when I was following a couple people when I first got online, I used to follow like the trendsetters, and then I was exhausted. I was like, oh my God, I can't do all those things. I just am exhausted. I don't want to do all those things. That's not, I love business and I love what I do, but I love coaching and I love helping clients, and I don't want to constantly be trying this technology, trying that technology. Like, it is exhausting if that's something that's not in your wheelhouse. It is. I mean, I actually work for a technology company, which is a side note, and they woke up, I was in the East Coast in New York City, and they were in Los Angeles, and I always had to do tech stuff because they woke up 3 hours later than me. So I actually am pretty tech savvy. But you know, that my forte is being creative, right? Like, I can be tech savvy, but is that the way I want to lean in? Do I want to teach my clients the latest technology tricks and hacks and stuff like that? I would rather not. I would rather, if they need to learn how to, you know, update their website and all these things I actually had to learn in the beginning of my business. I had to learn, well, I didn't have to. I could have given someone else to do it, but I actually wanted to learn it myself. So I learned email marketing by myself. I learned how to code a website. I learned HTML. I learned all the back end stuff. I created my own website. You know, I learned how to create lead pages and stuff like that. So it's not like I didn't learn how to do these funnels and stuff like that. But it's not, like, I can do it, but it's not my zone of genius. And so I decided, what is my zone of genius that I want to be known for, that I'm going to be able to teach clients, and that they come to me because they want some of that expertise, right? And it's not necessarily about the technology. If you come to me to help you with your website, I can tell you what to do with your website, but I don't want to do it for you. I would rather teach you things that I've learned in my career in the marketing of creative industries. Like, how do you really tell a good story? How do you present yourself? How do you build relationships? How do you sell, right? How do you know the psychology and behavioral psychology behind why people buy, right? Like, what is the strategy side of things, like the mindset part of things? So I'm more of like the inner type of person, right? The person that likes the inner stuff, like personal development, self-care and energy. Like, I've always been into self-care. Like, I have 3 yoga teacher trainings. I've been into the spiritual side of things. I love looking at different modalities. Like, I've studied Kundalini yoga. I've done coach training, right? I really like to dig deep. I like getting to know people one-on-one and really understanding how their mind ticks and how they think, and really assessing a person when I'm doing coaching with them, so that if they're coming with any obstacles or they're having any problems executing on a strategy that we've worked on, we can work together to really figure out, why are they having problems with execution? Why is this something that is like a limiting belief for them or a block for them, right? So I really like doing that inner work. And while I like doing the strategy, but also combining it with the inner work. And the strategy is something that you can learn any new strategy, right? You can go online. This is how I often learn new strategies. If I want to learn how to do something, for instance, I use Planoly for my Instagram, right? So for my Instagram marketing, well, I don't know, I'm showing you my phone, but you know my phone. For Instagram marketing, there's 2 apps that people tend to use, right? There's Planoly and Later. So I've gotten into Planoly. That's the one I tend to use. And what you can organize your tiles on your Instagram, and they have a calendar in their app where you can go on workshops. And so I love that. I can learn a new skill. So I can go on a workshop in Planoly to learn how to do really fun Instagram reels, right? So you can always find new ways of doing things with people that have the training. And you can find that training and you can find that new strategy. And I think strategy is amazing, and I teach strategy. But I think it's also important to see, you know, once you get the strategy, how can you go about executing that strategy? Can you, like, I'm a coach. My background's in coaching. So can I coach that person to take the strategy that they've learned, say to do, you know, a strategy takes maybe a bit to learn, right? Like you can learn a specific, like let's learn how to do an Instagram reel. Maybe you take a weekend to figure out how to create an Instagram reel, or you know what's the algorithm like. Once you learn the strategy, it's like how do you consistently use that strategy over time? How do you keep going on that strategy? How do you build belief in yourself that that's the strategy you want to implement, right? And so I think it's that inner work and taking those strategies, giving you some of my strategy ideas, and then implementing on executing it, is that really how I position myself. It's like, yes, I'm going to give you the strategy, but once you get the strategy, let's teach you how to consistently execute on that strategy and have that mindset to do it, right? So that's all I have. I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about positioning and understanding the idea of why it's so important to message, why it's so important to consistently tell people what you're about, maybe your values, how you teach differently, how you coach differently, whatever your service is, how is it different? Like how are you got that edge, right, compared to someone else? Because there's so many other people that might be doing what you do online, and how is the way you do it different? And how are you going to be able to teach it differently? And what are some of the skills that you have from maybe your past education, maybe your career, whatever it is? How are you able to take that and use that to benefit your ideal clients, so that they're saying, hey, I'm going to go to that person because I know 100% that they're really skilled in that area, right? I mean, I always think of the coaches that I've worked with. I've looked at what's the way their business is running, and do I want to be able to do it like that? Is that make me excited to work that way? Do I want to do that type of content? Like, how do I want to tell stories? Like, wherever I feel like there's a gap, I kind of look for a coach to say, like, hey, maybe they have skills in a different set. But sometimes I feel like if I have all the skills and I know what I'm doing, then the idea is, what is the coach that I can actually pick their brain of, that I really want access to their brain? And that's the key thing. When you kind of coach at a different level, it's really not necessarily learning all the skills anymore. My last coach, it wasn't about learning new skills, because I pretty much knew how to find the skills. I knew, okay, if I want to learn this, I just YouTube it here. If I want that, I just go here. I realized that it was about this person's brain. I saw their experience. I saw their background. I want to work with that person because I feel that I'm going to have an inside scoop with them. We can brainstorm together, and I want literally access into that person's brain on a daily basis, right? Or however often I would stay in touch with them. And so that's how you have to think about it. It's like, am I choosing this person because I have a skill that I'm missing, or am I choosing this person for like their almost intellectual property, the way they think and the way they are and the way their values are? That's what you have to start thinking when you're choosing someone to work with, but also when you're putting yourself out there. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that made you think a little bit about positioning yourself out there online. If you want to work with me, as I mentioned, I do have specific strengths when it comes to coaching, and I look at these in 3 different buckets. So I work with you on your intuition, your influence, and your innovation. So what does that mean? So the intuition part is really the energy, the mindset, the self-care, really those areas of where coaching comes into play, right? So I have a background in coactive coaching with the Coactive Training Institute, which used to be called the Coaching Training Institute, CTI. And we think of people as being creative, resourceful, and whole, but at the same time, you want to make sure that your energy and your mindset is constantly in that growth mindset, and that we're looking at, if you're not executing on things, if you're not doing the things that you know you're supposed to be doing for some reason, you know, and ultimately a life coach is there to help you grow, to help you get to that next level of where you want to go. And if you're not there, it's because something's blocking you, or it's just simply you haven't got the tools, or there's something that you're like holding yourself back with, right? And so for here, it's like the intuition. Can you figure out, and I help you do this, is intuitively, something's holding me back, and I teach you tools to really look at yourself and understand how to start, like, eventually I want you to be able to do this on your own, right? Like, I mean, I'd love to coach people forever, but at the end of the day, give you the tools so that you can look at your mindset. You can coach yourself, right? You can figure out how to coach yourself. You can figure out how to give yourself more energy. So that's the intuition piece, right? The next piece is influence, and that's really the sales and marketing. That's the part that's going to bring your business that visibility. And so teaching you what are the marketing strategies that I use, what are the marketing strategies that are out there that you can use, what are the sales strategies, and how can you create a sales plan so that you are making the type of money you want and you're getting repeating customers. So that is really the influence part. And I have a lot of experience in sales. I was a sales manager and trained sales teams. So that's something that I love to teach on. I'm really good at sales. And really old school sales, relationship building sales, and sales in a way where you build relationships for life. And if you are a business and you want to grow your business, I mean, I think it is important to think about your business as a living entity, and that the people that you bring into your business aren't just numbers, they're people, right? They're humans with human problems. And so instead of thinking like, just like, okay, like what's the problem I solve? Like, it's like, this is a human with problems, right? They don't just have one problem, they have other things that's going on. And so I like to look at it that way. I like to look at it in terms of, you know, this is a human being. Let's think about their whole thought process, right? And so it's really understanding the deeper layers of people's things that they go through in terms of the buying cycle, in terms of psychology and behavior. What's interesting is, you know, you could say, I'm going to help you get clients all you want, but it's really understanding, okay, how do I say this in a way that is going to move the specific type of person? And what's their reasons that they're not reaching out to me, or their reasons that they don't comment? Or, you know, how do I create a message so that that person feels that they can trust me, right? So building a lot of trust. So I do a lot of really deep work with sales and marketing, because you're going to want to know your clients inside and out so that you can write in a way and write copy and create marketing materials that really scream them, right? Scream to them, right? So that they're like, oh my God, you're basically like saying exactly who I am. I hear you. Piece of hair there. And then the last part is innovation. And I look at your thought leadership and your creativity, right? So this is really going to set you apart. When you think of yourself as a creative, and you think of yourself like, I'm always coming up with new ideas, and I am always someone that is unique, I am different, like what I do is definitely something that I make a difference with. I don't have any competition. I can innovate all the time. It's something that you have to have. You have to like build that muscle of belief in yourself, of creative belief, and believing that whatever you do, it's like it's like a tap. You want to be able to have this like the idea of flow, right? Like that you're in that state of flow, so that in your business doesn't just become like boring, right? Like a robot. Your business becomes a living, breathing thing, and you're excited to show up for it, and you're excited to be that visionary and that leader who is constantly coming up with new ideas. And so that's what I help you hone in on, is that innovative and creative part of you, that thought leader part of you, so that you're never bored. So that you feel like, wow, like I have something to say, and what is it I want to say today? So those are the things I work on with you. If you're interested in coaching with me, feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to message me. I would love to hear from you, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.